Since school is starting up again, I asked you guys to give me your most memorable first day of school stories, thinking this would make you a little more excited to get back to class. But after reading the stories I received, you may never want to go back to school. So I'm gonna read all your first day of school confessions, and at the end, we will decide which story is the most crazy. And we'll call the person who sent that story in to ask them what that experience was really like. So let's see what y'all got. We're kicking things off with a confession that had me saying, please stop, the more I kept reading it. It was the first day of freshman year, and I was terrified of high school. The second I walk in, I was already intimidated. I was 20 minutes late because I slept past my alarm, so when I walked in, the teacher asked why I wasn't on time. A normal person would have just told the teacher what really happened and dealt with a little bit of embarrassment. I did not do that.
I feel like I know what's gonna happen next, and I really hope I'm not right.
Instead of apologizing, I panicked and told her I didn't speak English and that I was new to the country.
Okay, never mind. I was way off.
She believed me instantly and gave me more attention in class every day to make sure I understood her teaching. I felt terrible, especially because she was an older teacher, but I kept going with it. For the next 3 weeks, I pretended I barely understood English. But then one day at lunch, my name got called over the intercom. I was told to report to the office. I get there, and sitting in front of the principal were my mom and dad, both looking furious. You're cooked, dog. And the principal asked why I was pretending I couldn't speak English well to my teacher. After a few minutes of silence, I finally admitted the truth. I began pretending to be a foreign exchange student who didn't speak English because I was too embarrassed to admit I was late. I was almost suspended for 3 days.
Luckily, I ended up with just 1 day of in-school suspension.
Let me get this straight. So on day 1, at the very first hurdle of high school, your brain looked at 2 options. Option A, raise your hand and say,
sorry, I just overslept a little bit.
and that literally would have been the end of it. Or option B,
Become a completely different person from a completely different country.
and you chose option B? Like immediately? No hesitation? I get it though. You made that decision in the moment and didn't think about the fact that this was a lie you could never go back on. But the fact that it worked is what really gets me, because your teacher didn't just believe you, she went out of her way to take care of you. Loki, that might just be the way to get a good teacher. Just pretend you don't understand the language they're teaching you. I know you must have just felt a little bit of relief when you got caught though, because for 3 weeks straight, every single day, you had to wake up and recommit to this bit. That's not a lie. That's a full-time job. This is what that principal's office probably sounded like when you walked in and your parents were there. Tyler, why did you tell your teacher you don't speak English?
Me no understando English. Oh.
Tyler, your dad is standing right there. We know you speak English.
Okay?
I do respect the commitment though. Most people can't stick to a New Year's resolution for 3 weeks, and you stuck to an entire fake nationality. This was your fault completely because you lied to the teacher.
But sometimes you can't control crazy things happening on the first day.
Like in this next story. It was my first day at a brand new school, 7th grade. There's a tradition where on the first day of the year, a priest comes and blesses everyone by splashing holy water using a bundle of basil leaves dipped into a bowl. As he's going down the line, he slips, and the entire bowl of water falls directly on me.
I was soaked for the rest of my very first day, and somehow it was also freezing and windy outside.
I had done my hair, worn my best outfit, broken in new shoes, all ruined in 1 second on day 1. I had to go home, change, dry my hair, and come back. The story got brought up for the rest of the school year.
I transferred not long after, but I've never felt more blessed in my life.
Okay, so you didn't just have a bad first day, you had a biblical first day. Most people worry about tripping in the hallway or forgetting their locker combo, but you got baptized without even knowing in front of your whole new school.
I love the way you saw it though, because you could have been mad at the fact you were soaked, but instead you said you've never felt more blessed in your life.
That's the spirit?
I could just picture it. It's the first day of school. You spent probably 2 hours getting ready in the morning. The hair, the fit,
The brand new shoes, you were clearly trying to make a good impression.
And none of it mattered.
because gravity and bad luck teamed up against you before first period even started. Meanwhile, the priest probably just kept walking like nothing happened, because what is he supposed to do? Stop the ceremony? No, the show must go on. And you had to sit there dripping for the rest of the day while everyone in your new grade formed their first impression of you as
The wet kid.
But there was one thing you said that was confusing, because you wrote,
I transferred not long after.
so was it just because of this event that you transferred? If so, that is kind of sad. But hey, it's gotta be better to get splashed by holy water than regular water, right?
It's wild too, because everyone tries to make the best first impression possible on the first day of school.
And yours was being on the end of one of those water park buckets spilling on you. This next person somehow even made a crazier first impression in school though, because their story goes, on the first day, a group of kids were already running a real life dating simulator. You'd pay them and they'd tell you who you matched with. I noticed noticed my little brother put his name in as an option. It was his first day at this school, and I could not stop laughing when I saw his name. So I came up with a plan.
This does not sound like it's gonna be good.
I went to the guys running the dating simulator and told them.
When my brother comes to check his matches, tell him he has 0.
But when they did that, my brother got mad and snitched. So the entire operation got shut down and we all got suspended.
Just imagine this. It's your first day at a new school. You don't know anyone. You're so nervous. The only thing you can think about is try not to pee and poo down your leg, and you find out people are doing a dating simulator. You're thinking, this is the way you can meet girls at the school who like you.
But then you find out literally none of them want you. The person in the last story transferred after a few weeks. I would have transferred in that exact moment if I was the brother in this story.
But to the person who sent this story in, the fact that you specifically used your own brother as a weapon in this scheme is
Absolutely
amazing. I respect it.
I was the youngest sibling in my family, so
I always had to go through my older siblings pulling stuff like this on me.
I mean, it wasn't anything this wild though.
But even as the youngest sibling, I never would have done what the guy in this story did and snitch. Not even because I wouldn't want the operation to get shut down. No, I don't care about that. Like, I would be butthurt too and want vengeance. But the reason I wouldn't snitch is because now the whole school thinks you're a snitch. And that is not a title you want on the first day.
I don't know what I actually would have done, to be honest. My brain would have
Shut off in that moment, just like how the person in this next story's brain shut off. It was my very first day at a brand new school, and I was already nervous walking into a class full of strangers who'd known each other for years. In geography, the teacher asked everyone to go around and name a country outside the USA. Sounds easy enough, except by the time it got to me, everyone had already called out all the popular ones. Canada, France, Japan, Mexico, all taken. I panicked, my mind went completely blank, and the only answer I could think of was Europe. In front of the entire class on my very first day, when the teacher asked me to name a country, I said Europe. Everyone just kind of stared at me for a second before they started laughing. And from that point on, half the class thought I was the dumb new kid.
But joke's on them, because I can now name all 197 countries.
I'm not even gonna lie.
I'm so glad I wasn't in this situation because after reading that confession, I genuinely had to sit there for about 30 seconds and think,
Wait, what's wrong with saying Europe is a country?
until I finally realized, it's not a country.
But there is nothing worse than being put on the spot in a room full of strangers and watching every single answer you had in your mind get taken one by one.
And you can just feel your brain slowly turn to static as it gets closer to your turn. You had one job. Name literally any country that is not the United States. There are 196 other options. And out of all of them, your brain reached into the void and pulled out Europe. Just an entire continent. If anything, that's more impressive because there's only 7 continents. Meanwhile, there's 197 countries. So it's way harder to name one of those.
And on the first day, when your entire reputation is being formed in real time by people you've never met,
You said Europe.
That's rough because now, forever in that classroom,
you're the Europe kid.
but hey, look at the redemption arc. You said you can now name all 197 countries and their capitals? Nerd. Actually, let's see how many I can think of off the top of my head. USA, Mexico, Canada, Chicago? But imagine finding love on the first day of school. Now that sounds like an amazing time, but unfortunately, that is not what happened in this next story. Because it goes, it was my first day of school, 4th period, right before lunch. A kid comes up to me and says a girl has a crush on me. I ask who, and he points her out across the room. And I have no idea who she is, since I hadn't met anyone yet. But the second I see her, I think she's actually really beautiful.
My friend tells me to go ask her out right then, on day 1. So at lunch, I work up the courage. She's sitting across the cafeteria, but the lunch monitor tells me to sit down. So I have to sneak past him and crawl on the floor to get to her table with everyone watching. I finally make it to the edge of the table where I think she's sitting, and I tell her.
I like you.
But she just gives me a confused look and then turns back around to her friends. Now I'm confused. And I look up back at my friend and realize I confessed to the wrong girl. The real girl my friend was talking about was sitting right next to the one I talked to. But I couldn't now tell her that I liked her also, so I just went back to my table.
Let me get this straight. You didn't know this girl's name. You didn't know a single thing about her. All you knew was a stranger pointed across the cafeteria and said,
Hey, that one.
and somehow that was enough for you to decide on your first day at a brand new school that today was the day you were gonna confess your feelings? And instead of walking over like a normal person, you got on the floor, you crawled past a lunch monitor whose entire job is to notice exactly that kind of behavior. But hey, that's kind of romantic though. The only thing that wasn't romantic is that,
You confessed to the wrong person entirely.
and the worst part was, once you did that, you completely ruined any chance you had with the girl that actually liked you. You risked full public humiliation on day 1 for someone who is now just a ghost in your your memory forever. So really, I only have one thing to say for this story. You are the GOAT! Because look at this. You got told a girl liked you, and within seconds, you did whatever you had to do to go rizz her up? Didn't even think twice about it? Every time I like a girl, I have to think for at least 300 days about how to approach her, and by the time I'm ready to,
They're usually already in another relationship.
so dude, honestly,
I'm jealous of you.
but let me tell you something wild that happened to me on my own first day of school. So it's day 1 of 8th grade. The teacher's taking attendance, going down the list, and she calls out,
Tyler.
no last name, just says,
Tyler.
I say, here, not thinking anything of it.
Except there was another kid in the class also named Tyler, and he happened to be absent that day.
At first, I had no idea. I just heard my name and said here, like a normal person would. But this is the problem. That other Tyler ended up being absent.
For the first 2 whole weeks of school. But every single day, when the teacher called out Tyler,
I kept saying here because I genuinely thought she was talking to me the entire time. But it turns out I was actually the second Tyler on the list and not the first.
so every time I said here, I was saying it for the other Tyler. And when she would call out the next Tyler and no one responded, I'd get marked absent. So for a full week straight, the teacher was marking me as absent and marking the other Tyler as present.
Even though he wasn't in the building. 5 days in, my parents get a phone call from the school saying I'd been skipping class. I'm sitting there like, what do you mean I've been skipping? I've been here every single day. Turns out this entire time, there were just 2 Tylers. And the teacher never thought to use last names. So the school legitimately had no idea which one of us was actually in the room.
But since students always get punished if they do anything wrong, in this scenario, I think the teacher of this class should have been punished.
Like, why does that never happen, huh? But anyways, you ever notice how one bad driver can ruin the drive for literally everyone else on the road? It starts with one person weaving in and out of traffic like they're 20 minutes late, then everyone else has to slam on their brakes, switch lanes, or slow down, and that's how traffic starts. And the annoying part is, you can't really do anything about it. No matter how good of a driver you are, you can't stop someone from making a reckless decision. There's a reason you wouldn't trust someone who just failed their driver's test to drive you home. Just like there's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. That's why if you're ever injured because of someone else's negligence, you can check out Morgan & Morgan. They've been fighting for the people for over 35 years, with more than 1,000 lawyers, offices nationwide, and they've recovered over $30 billion for their clients. Hiring Morgan & Morgan is basically like having an entire legal team step in and handle everything for you. The paperwork, the pressure, the back and forth, so you don't have to figure it all out on your own. And the best part is, their fee is free unless they win.
Because not all law firms are the same.
And hiring the wrong one can mean you're beat before you even start. So if you're ever injured, you can check out Morgan & Morgan at forthepeople.com/Tyler Vitelli. Now back to the video. Anyways, that story always reminds me that first days of school are just chaos for everyone involved, no matter what side of the confession you're on. Which brings us to this next one, because probably the worst thing that can happen on your first day is your own body betraying you. It was my first day of school, and at lunch, I was in the middle of telling everyone I had never once thrown up in my entire life. But mid-sentence, on day 1, I projectile vomited straight across the table. I got sent home immediately and ended up staying home for over
2 days.
Turned out to be food poisoning. Kind of funny, kind of terrifying, and definitely not the first impression I was going for.
This has to be one of the fastest jinxes in human history. You didn't even finish the sentence. You were mid-brag, actively in the process of telling a table full of brand new people that you had never thrown up in your life.
Kind of a weird thing to tell people you just met, by the way. But in that moment, your stomach heard that and said, not anymore. That is comedic timing money can't buy. Which is exactly why I think this story is a lie. It's too perfectly timed for it to be true.
But if somehow it isn't a lie, that is the craziest coincidence ever recorded.
Like, it's the first day, and you're there in front of a table of people who now forever associate you with that exact moment. You didn't just make a first impression, you made a biohazard.
I really tried to visualize what this scenario actually looked like, which is kind of disgusting considering they were throwing up. But this is how I imagine it went.
Yeah, I've literally never thrown up in my life before.
Okay, say less.
It's actually kind of impressive when you think of all your new friends you made on the first day
Are no longer your friends.
Next one. First day of 6th grade, me and my friends wanted to start the year off right. So naturally, we thought it would be funny to put our gum in our teacher's coffee. When she came back and took a sip, she swallowed the gum and thought it was a dead fly. She started crying and screaming and called another teacher in to give her CPR so the fly would come back up. Me and my friends were dying laughing the entire time. What do you mean by?
We wanted to start the year off right,
And then the very next sentence is,
so we put gum in her coffee.
that's your definition of starting the school year right? I would not want to sit next to you in class. But the real twist here isn't even the prank. It's what happened after. This woman genuinely thought she swallowed a dead fly and needed CPR.
Somewhere out there, another full-grown adult teacher was called into that room, saw her coworker panicking, and performed actual emergency medical procedures because of a piece of Bubblicious?
Now what happens if your teacher has a panic attack and ends up in the hospital? It ain't ain't funny anymore, is it? Okay, I gotta chill. I low-key sounded like a Karen there. You know, sometimes I just can't decide whose side to be on in these stories.
Wait, what am I talking about? I know exactly whose side to be on. The teachers. You were the evil one.
The cool part about the story is the teacher that performed CPR probably thinks she saved a life that day, but you never said in the confession, did they end up getting the Bubblicious back up? I need to know that. This next one takes us somewhere I genuinely was not expecting a first day of school story to go, because it starts normal and ends in what sounds like an actual horror movie. About 5 years ago, on my first day of school, I was really curious to see if bathrooms smell bad even on the first day before they've been used a lot. So I went in to check the smell. It reeked, but I had to go number 2, so I went into a stall and then I heard one kid walk in, then 2, then 3. Before I knew it, there were about 20 kids in the bathroom on day 1 of the school year. It got quiet, too quiet. Then they turned the lights off and I saw them pull out 5 sticks of bright red chalk and start drawing something on the floor. Then they lit candles. I was standing on the toilet seat so they wouldn't spot me. And that's when it hit me. They were performing some kind of ritual, chanting in a language I didn't recognize. It went on for 30 minutes and made me miss half of class. I got detention and so did they. I'm gonna have to start requesting that everyone who sends in a confession also provides video evidence of it happening, because once again, I just do not believe this story. I had no idea where it was even going. It made sense at first when you were talking about the bathroom not smelling on the first day. Like, that's genuinely a good thought I've never had before. But that ritual part? Come on, we know you're lying. Somehow though, if you weren't,
Dog, you better transfer immediately.
performing rituals is one thing, but performing rituals in the bathroom? That's how you know they mean no good. How are you gonna perform a ritual while actively smelling doo-doo in the background? And speaking of bathroom mysteries, this next confession picks up right where the last one left off, because apparently bathrooms are just cursed on the first day of school. My friend accidentally made a bathroom door fall completely off its hinges on the first day of 3rd grade. But a teacher, I'll call him Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith personally questioned every single girl in our hallway trying to figure out who did it. And me and my friend ended up as the top suspects. They never actually found out it was us.
But somehow, the exact same thing happened again later, this time in the boys' bathroom.
So on day 1, a bathroom door just gives up and falls completely off the hinges, and instead of anyone assuming it was old or broken or poorly installed, the school immediately launches what sounds like a full criminal investigation, personally questioning an entire hallway of 8-year-olds. And it didn't even stop there, because somehow the exact same thing happened again later in the boys' bathroom.
At what point does the school start asking if maybe, just maybe, the doors were the problem and not a 3rd grade crime group purposely destroying the bathrooms?
This school sounds like it was just ready to fall apart. I'm sure there was probably an instance where someone went number 2 in one of the toilets and the force of it made the toilet break. Like, everything in this school just sounds way too delicate.
And can we talk about Mr. Smith for a second? Because the way you describe it, he sounds less like a teacher and more like a detective who just got assigned his first big case.
Alright, we need to find out who is responsible for that door.
I think the door is just old.
That's exactly what someone who did it would say. Come with me, you're suspended.
Mr. Smith really looked at an entire hallway of 8-year-olds on day 1 and decided
This was the hill he was gonna die on.
he must have just had nothing better to do. But this goes to show, if you're ever in an embarrassing situation on the first day, just tell the truth. Don't lie. Nothing good will come out of that. Like, look at this next story, for example. It was my first day of school, and I was trying so hard to look like I already knew where I was going. I found my locker, put in the combination, but it would not open. So I'm standing there, fighting this thing on day 1, pulling it, twisting the lock, even hitting it a little, like that would somehow help. Then this girl walks up and just stares at me. I'm thinking, why is she looking at me like that? But she goes, that's my locker. I look at the number, and it turns out I was at the wrong locker. Instead of just admitting that, I said, oh, I know, I was just checking if it was locked. Like, why would I be checking her locker? I walked away like nothing happened, and then immediately realized
My actual locker was right next to hers the whole time.
from that point on, anytime she would see me at school, she'd tightly grip her bag, thinking I was gonna try to rob her. Great first impression for day 1.
I was just checking if it was locked.
Might genuinely be the worst lie I have ever heard a human being tell. Well, except for pretending you don't speak English to the teacher. But not only does it not explain why you were violently yanking on her locker, it actually raises more questions than it answers.
Why would you be checking if her locker was locked? What authority do you have to be just checking locks?
Not only did you get caught, you got caught and then made it worse by responding with a lie so bad it somehow drew more attention to the crime scene.
If I was her, I would have had eyes on you the rest of the school year too. I don't blame her for clutching her bag every time she saw you. She probably thought you were about to jump her.
And the fact that your actual locker was right next to hers the entire time,
Is the final twist of the knife. Because it means this entire disaster happened.
For absolutely no reason.
you could have just looked one locker to the left and said, oh, I guess I had the wrong locker. Tee-hee. But you didn't do that. Instead, you went, that's my locker. Oh, I know. I was just checking if it was locked. Why would you be checking that? Definitely not, because I'm gonna rob you. I need a first day story I can actually relate to. Something we've all experienced before, like this. I had a rough morning on the first day because I was in kindergarten and I was terrified to go. I got to class on day 1 already crying because I wanted my mom. My teacher told me it was okay, but I didn't care. Every time my mom would try leaving, I'd run over to her. Eventually, she left and I tried running to her again, but my teacher pulled me back. So I whacked her in the face and then kept running. It's safe to say I did not have a good first year of school. I think almost everyone watching this has some version of this exact memory buried somewhere.
Whether it was you or a sibling, like the very first day of kindergarten might be the most terrifying day of your life.
I'm actually getting ready for mine next week. But at that age, all you know is your mom. So when she leaves, you start tweaking. You're thinking that teacher's kidnapping you. But you didn't just cry about it, you took action. First time literally ever stepping inside a school and you became prime Mike Tyson. I hope the teacher didn't hold that against you for the rest of the year though, because it kind of sounds like they did based off how you said, I did not have a good first year of school. That just makes me think the teacher had beef with you that whole year.
Which is kind of funny to think about, an adult just having beef with a 5-year-old. I'm not saying I'm any better though.
Like, if a 5-year-old punched me in the face, yeah, that is pretty weird to have beef with a 5-year-old. Never mind. My first day of kindergarten wasn't that bad because I instantly saw a girl I liked already. It never worked out, unfortunately. Kind of like how the people in this next story didn't work out. On the first day of school, I fell in love with a boy in the hallway. I wanted to look cute, so I did a casual one-shoulder backpack swing, but the strap got completely tangled in my hair and ripped my claw clip right out. My open tote bag flew out of my hands, sending my lip gloss and lunchbox straight into his face. I just stood there frozen with a full bird's nest of hair on my head. The worst part, my friend told me later that he actually liked me too, until that exact moment.
You were so close to having this guy. All you had to do was literally anything else. You were trying to aura farm so he would like you, just for it to end with you giving him the ick.
By slinging your lunchbox at his face. And that was the best of the confessions. Honestly, going through all of these confessions, I think the real lesson here is that
the first day of school is never about learning. It's about, well, trying to survive.
But with that, we have to decide who had the craziest story. Personally, I think I'm gonna have to go with the fake foreign exchange student one. I just haven't been able to stop thinking about that one since I read it. So let's call them on Discord and see what they have to say about the experience. Ryan, how's it going?
Well, hey, Tyler.
So I read your first day of school story, and I just have to ask, what made you want to fake being a foreign exchange student?
Well, I was late to school, and I didn't want her to call my mama, so I just told her I was a foreign exchange student.
You know what, Ryan? I respect it. You're a cool kid.
Thanks for calling, Tyler. Just want to give a shout out to my